You're listening to The Other 50%, a herstory of Hollywood. This is a teeny little micro bonus episode. It's a couple tales from the trenches from Kelli KONOP. So here you go. Enjoy.
What went down?
In the Dominican Republic?
Anyway, yeah. I'm sure there are good stories there.
Let's see. In the Dominican Republic, we rented a boat for the shoot, and it was being run by this boat captain who was from the Dominican Republic. I don't even know that the owners of the boat knew he was loaning his boat. They were Americans, actually, and he got drunk while we were shooting and got it in his head that we weren't going to pay him. I have no idea why. I have no idea. He just got drunk and decided we weren't going to pay him, and he had a gun, and he literally was pointing the gun at the boat and the extras, and then...
And is the boat out on the water?
The boat was near the dock, and I remember getting the boat back to the dock and getting everybody off the boat, getting all the extras off the boat, and he just started throwing our set decorating off the boat, and yeah, and so then and then it was crazy. It was so crazy, and with him wielding the gun, literally,
Did you have to wave the cash at him?
No, it was late at night. It was just it was crazy. I mean, it was wielding a gun at us. It was crazy. And then he ended up suing me personally.
For what?
For the rest of the money after he literally didn't let us ultimately use the boat. And so I remember going to court in the Dominican, and the lawyer that was representing me, little did I know, he was on the take, and I mean and they literally had to pay this guy off to be able to leave the island. I literally had to pay him. I mean, the company and the movie ended up paying him, but he's just to get up, because otherwise it would have got drawn out, and you know what I mean? He would have kept me tied up in this legal battle, and it was crazy. So I literally...
He lost his mind.
Yes.
Anybody get hurt?
No, thank God. No.
Imagine.
It was crazy. That was par for the course on that movie. That movie was... Oof.
Banana.
Again, not a reason not to make a movie on an island. Oof. Yeah. So...
Oh my God.
Yeah. It was nuts. Oh man. That was crazy.
Any other stories? I know you got some.
So one time I was down in Whittier shooting a small film, and we were shooting an exterior house, and the person who owned the house was very old, and we show up to shoot, and the caretaker basically told me that they were dying, they were going to die within hours, and so
on the deathbed.
On the deathbed, going to die that day. They were basically just working through acceptance, and we're going to die. Whew. And so I said to the director, I can go get another house. Give me an hour. I'll figure it out. I'll go knock on doors. This was a long time ago I think that was on Breakfast with Einstein, which was, I believe, Shia LaBeouf's first movie.
Oh.
And yeah, he was 10. I was his guardian on many of the days. Anyway, and Ben Foster was in that film too. But the person who owned the house didn't want us to leave. They wanted us to shoot. There was nobody around. They were by themselves. It was them and the caretaker, and so they wanted just their last day to be around people. So through the caretaker, they asked for us to stay, and so we did. In hindsight, I probably shouldn't have, because God forbid they died halfway through the day. The ambulance would have been my shot, but we weren't shooting inside the house, but we had to access the house for lighting, and I think to use the bathroom and things like that. So throughout the day, some of the crew was visiting this person who was dying, and they really loved being around. I was visiting them a lot around young people, and I was pretty much kind of stationed in their kitchen, and they liked having the hubbub and the life around them while they were dying. And we finished shooting, and we were packed up, and then I got a call that they had passed away that night, at 10 o'clock at night, and we had left at maybe 7 or something.
Wow.
So that was pretty crazy. Oh, I have another story. I shot a movie. Oh. This is a crazy story. I shot a movie called Angel's Dance, and it was a lot about death, and we shot at a cemetery, and the cemetery also had a crematorium, and it was a crematorium for many cemeteries. Not all. I didn't know that not all cemeteries have a crematorium.
Oh.
So this is in Los Angeles. It was near La Cañada. I remember that because I could see the mountains from this cemetery. So I remember we were losing an actor or something was happening, and we had to shoot this one bedroom scene on the day that we were shooting at the cemetery. So we were searching the cemetery grounds for somewhere to shoot it, and in this building where they did the cremations, there was a storage room, probably the size of this room. So they agreed that we could clear it all out, and this is also the room that in the hallway adjacent to this room is where they lined up the bodies to be burned. So they agreed that we could clear the room out, put it in a storage container, dress it as a bedroom, and then shoot the scene. And so I remember we had to get storage units on the outside to hold the bodies and stuff.
Oh, so you were clearing out bodies? You weren't clearing out
stuff, but also we had to get another storage unit for them to put the bodies awaiting.
Oh God!
To be cremated, and they didn't cremate any bodies while we were shooting the scene, but they certainly cremated bodies while we were shooting at the cemetery. And so the Grips, of course, made friends with them and literally got to see this happening. And I remember at the time the Grips pulled a prank on the location manager, and he goes over to the storage unit where the bodies are literally in cardboard boxes, and for whatever reason he goes in with one of the guys, and they had a Grip hiding in one of the boxes, and he pops out.
Oh my God.
And scares the bejesus out of the location manager. And he got them back, though. He called up one of his cop friends and had the cop pull them over on the way home, to harass them or whatever. But that was crazy. Everybody lost a lot of weight on that shoot. Nobody really had an appetite. So, but
God, the things you see when you're making movies.
Oh my God. That's part of the magic is you go to a place and you really get to know the place while you're shooting there. You get to see things you wouldn't normally get to see.
You would never.
Yeah. In Japan, we shot The Grudge 2, and one of the scenes was in I don't know what they call it, a day hotel, an hour hotel. I'm not really sure.
A horror hotel.
Yes. And so we shot in one of those, and you literally walk in and there's the menu, and you pick which room you want, by the theme.
Yeah.
And I don't think I would have gone to one of those hotels or even known that district existed in Japan if it wasn't for that film.
Yeah.
We got to see a lot of stuff that I normally wouldn't have seen. So,
I bet.
Very interesting.
It's an interesting world out there.
Yeah, but when you're, we were working with, the producer in Japan, so you pretty much got whatever you needed.
Yeah.
So.
It's great.
Yeah. So, what else can I tell you? I don't know.
Got any more? We hear New York City behind us.
Yes. No, just, back to shooting in the Cayman Islands, it was very handy knowing, having Frankie's family there. When I had to fly equipment in from Germany, his father was the head of the security company at the airport, so
that was easy.
Normally you wouldn't be able to land a plane at, an off time or what have you, but his dad just took care of that.
Then did you have to deal with the customs and bringing it all in, or it just kind of came in?
Just kind of came in.
Pays to know people.
Yeah, and we got all our work permits pretty quickly. It just came down to the office, and within an hour, everybody had a work permit.
Nice.
So it was very nice.
Just cut that red tape.
Very handy, yes. To make a movie with Frankie. In that case, go to an island with Frankie at any time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or meet the Frankie in whatever island
exactly.
you're going to.
Just find out who the Frankie is on the island.
Who's the Frankie?
So, yeah, he was great. But even on that island, he had friends who lived everywhere on that island. So, you got to see where everybody lived. The super wealthy, the not super wealthy, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you really got to see it all. And
you weren't just at the resort.
No. Yeah, Frankie had friends everywhere.
So you see how people live.
Everywhere, yeah.
And that was interesting.
That was a gift. It was
a
gift.
Education.
I remember going to one of his friends' houses, and they had the TV on, and they had, at the time, I think MTV was on. and the videos, and that's really what they thought of America, was what they saw on the music videos.
Well, that's what it's like.
Yeah, I mean, this was, I guess we had internet back then, but it certainly wasn't big. But that's what they see,
Yeah.
So I think we were still dialing up at the time. But you remember that?
AOL was the only thing.
Yeah. So yeah, you really get to see that stuff. I'm trying to think of what other fun stories I have. You definitely feel like that movie Wag the Dog sometimes when you're making a film. You remember that movie Wag the Dog? Yeah.
You've been listening to the Other 50%, A Herstory of Hollywood bonus episode. I'm Julie Harris Walker. I'd like to thank Kelli KONOP for sharing her production stories, and special thanks to Jonathan Lucas for editing, Jay Rowe, Danny Rosner, and Allison McQuaid for the music. Please find us on iTunes and subscribe and leave a review, and on our website, theother50%.com, all spelled out, for added features, bios of our guests, the merch, and also our sister podcast, The Other 50%, A Herstory of Tech. You can also follow us on Facebook, on Twitter at Other50%, and Instagram at Other50% Podcast. Thanks for listening. See you next time.